Soulwind TV presents.
Faith and Hope with Sweet Tea and Sass, encouraging couples to reconnect with God and with each other so they can live their happily ever after too.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Sweet Tea and
Sass.
we are back again for another episode of where we started and where we're headed to, and
Where are we headed
the
to?
many trials and tribulations of a married couple.
Yeah. Yeah, when you've been married 38 years, you got lots of trials and tribulations. It's like being on a roller coaster.
Yep,
And it just never
and it's
stops.
never always going straight
You
up.
don't ever go, and come to that, okay, it's over.
No, that doesn't happen. Not well. We hadn't got to that
Maybe
point.
when you die.
Yeah, when you die,
I don't want to do that. Let's just all go to heaven on the family plan.
that works for me.
That's what Grammy used to say. Let's just Jesus come back in the resurrection, and then we'll all go on the family plan.
Yeah, and everybody can be there together.
Yep, that works for me. That way I don't have to be alone because I have those abandonment issues.
Yeah. And no more death, no more pain, no more sorrow.
Oh, no more
Those
pain.
will be the days.
Jesus, no more pain.
Those will be the days.
Yeah, we'll hear about that pain thing later because, man, I got that double dose.
So this week's Bible verse is kind of near and dear to us as a couple. It's from Psalms 127, starting in verse 4. Like arrows in the hands of a warrior are children born in one's youth. Blessed is the man whose quiver is full of them. They will not be put to shame when they contend with their opponents in court.
So this episode's called A Brown-Eyed Girl. So you might guess with that verse what this episode's going to be about.
Yes.
Our little brown-eyed girl.
So we were a year and a half into our marriage, and things were rolling along and having fun, and
We decided we wanted to add to our family.
we
were ready. I was ready.
We started getting ready for a child, and she let me know one day that I think I'm pregnant. So we really got excited at that point, and it was, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks into it, we lost the child.
We found out we weren't going to have a child.
And that was very devastating. And you have all kinds of thoughts running through your mind
And emotions.
as a man, and also as a woman, and was it something that I did? Could you not? And of course, for her, it's like, am I not able to carry kids? Or
Oh, yeah.
all kinds of emotions running through your mind.
devastating.
And we had friends that were having kids, and they were pregnant and having no issues at all, and
And you
so
feel like as a woman, you feel like a failure. You feel like that you have failed, and you feel like, and for me, I felt like I wasn't going to be able to have kids. That was just it. I wasn't going to be able to have kids. I wasn't going to be able to carry them to term because I just had this, I don't know, doomsday outlook on things
yeah,
at the
and
time.
those are thoughts that run through your mind. And so we
And
said,
we
well,
were devastated. We cried.
we cried,
We
and
cried together
devastated,
for days.
and
I think we cried. We laid in bed and cried every night for
a couple
weeks.
weeks. And her doctor said, it's not the end of the world.
You can try again.
Give it a little time, and you'll try again. And it was a month or so.
It was probably 3 months.
She came home and said, I'm pregnant. And we're like, okay,
We
well,
were
we're not
scared.
telling anybody.
We were scared.
We're going to keep this one close to heart and just see what happens and where things go. And lo and behold, about 3 months later, she couldn't hide it anymore.
Nope. I had one of those pregnancies that just was all out in the front and just 3 months, and I wasn't in clothes. I was in maternity clothes. There was no hiding it with all of my pregnancies.
Yep. So
we had to tell everybody. So everybody, this is what happens.
And everybody said, do you know what it is? You're going to find out. And we're like, nope.
No.
We know it's a baby. and it's not some kind of alien or anything like that.
Yeah, no.
We know it's a baby, and we'll see what God surprises us with. And
We decided not to find out. We could have found out through blood tests or through the ultrasound, but we decided we didn't want to know. We wanted to be surprised.
yep,
So we went through the whole pregnancy and didn't. Now that was a difficult time because I was working full time in an office, and
yep,
it was the 80s, and we had a major recession here in the U.S., and I got laid off. And it wasn't bad during the pregnancy because I was drawing unemployment, which was almost as much as I was making at work. Plus, I had been driving over 35 or 40 minutes to work because we live so far out in the boonies from our last episode. So I was saving all that money on gas. So we really were breaking even. So I
yeah.
was staying at home and we were doing pretty good. I was going to pregnancy aerobics classes 3 days a week. I felt great. I felt better than I had ever felt in my entire life. I had more energy. I felt great.
And you know how when you see a pregnant woman and she's got that glow about her, there's just something about a pregnant woman that makes her seem happy, and she had it,
I
and she was feeling great and doing good, and the pregnancy went okay until about the last month,
The last week. Everything was
and
great until the last
our
week.
our our little brown-eyed girl was down and turned and ready to deliver, and
On my due date,
the
she
doctor
was
said, "You're not quite ready. You're not quite in labor yet. Let's give it another week, but I don't think you'll last a week. But I'll see you back in a week."
no, she said, I'll see you at the hospital before you come back. On
And
my due date, she said, I'll see you before a week, but go ahead and make an appointment, but I'll see you before the end of the week at
well,
the
a week
hospital.
late, a week later, we went back for the next
I
appointment,
came waddling in,
and
baby from here to my knees.
that stinker decided she was going to turn, and she was now breech.
Yep, she was
Not
bottom
all,
first.
not only was she breech, but Elizabeth was now in full-blown
Labor.
labor.
Yep,
And the doctor said, "Okay, we're going to have a baby tonight."
we're going to have a C-section tonight.
And there's no waiting another week for her to turn back.
Nope, there's no trying to maneuver her. She's too big. She's measuring over 9 pounds. I'm like, no wonder I'm so big.
So I got her to the hospital, and while I was at the hospital, I called my parents, who were still living in Texas, and said, "We're having
3 hours away.
we're having a baby tonight, and see you when you get here." And called her mom and dad and said, "We're having a
My
baby."
stepdad.
Okay, stepdad.
Stepdad.
Called them and said, "We're having a baby tonight. See you when you get here."
And your sister came and
my
took
sister,
pictures.
my sister came and took pictures and wheeled her in at 9 o'clock. And
No, it was 7. She was
was
born
it
at
7?
7:50. I remember it was 7:50.
Brittany was born at 9 o'clock.
7:50 p.m.
Yeah,
9 o'clock in the morning.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
She's the early bird, remember?
yeah. So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
Miss Megan was
Did the C-section and got her out and everything, and he's watching the baby, and and they get her cleaned up and they take her out to the nursery, and then he's sitting there.
and I was doing great until the doctors started to sew her up, and
he turned.
you know how
he was just
you
like,
can hear a piece of fine.
okay, no, they don't want to hear that. We're not telling that. But he turned white as a sheet, and
I turned as green as your shirt,
he said, I love you, baby, but I have to go.
and out the door I went. So I went out in the hallway and found Miss Megan, and
Of course, he hadn't had anything to eat since
since
lunch. So he was, he probably would have tossed his cookies if he'd had anything.
Yep,
It was an eye-opening experience, wasn't it,
yep.
baby?
It was very eye-opening.
So and you found Megan?
I found Megan. She was down in the nursery. Of course, they wouldn't let me hold her because I was no longer sterile because I had been out in the hallway. So,
But she's mine.
so anyway, I'm standing there in the hallway, and our pastor comes walking up, and it's his day off, and he comes walking.
He's
He
just
comes
the most
walking
amazing
in,
pastor. He was just
and
amazing.
he's standing there next to me, and he said, "You ever think anything like this would happen?" I said, "No, but I prayed about it," and he just kind of laughed. And
But funny too that we could not agree on names. The
no,
whole time I was pregnant, He wanted to name a girl Ashley. I wanted to name a girl Megan. He wanted to name a boy Michael, and
Mhm.
I wanted to name a boy Jay, because his first name is just the letter J. So we could not agree. So we said, okay, whoever the baby looks like is who picks the name, that's the name the baby will have. And so as soon as the doctor picked her up and showed her to us, I took one look at her and I looked at him and I said, "What's her name?" And he said, "Megan," because she was my mini me. She is my mini me. She looks exactly like me. We have totally different personalities, totally different likes and dislikes, but she is my mini me.
Yep.
And the doctor immediately said, "You don't have to name her right now. You've got a few days." And we said, "No, her name's Megan.
Yep.
There's no doubt about it. She's a Megan.
So
That's
when
what she is."
when I finally found her in the nursery, they already had Megan written on the baby name at the beginning of the at the head of the crib there. And
Yes, but when they wheeled me out in the bed after going through this C-section and all this stuff, my mother and stepdad are standing there in the hallway. And I look at my mom, I'm still half dazed and everything. And my mom says, "Poor Arnold. What? This is the man that you hated.
yeah,
You did not want me to marry. You despised he couldn't come to your house. And now I've just had a major C-section and I've been through all this, and you're going to say to me, the first thing you're going to say is, 'Poor Arnold.' Do what?"
yeah.
She's like, "Oh, he was just as green as he could be when he came out of there." I'm like, "And I'm cut from here to there. And you're going to say, 'Poor Arnold.' Give me a break. Make up your mind where your loyalties lie, woman."
So they wheeled her into the room, and it was a couple hours before they brought Megan in
Yeah, it was like
because
4 hours.
you
At
were in some
like
pain, and
7:50, and they didn't bring her in until midnight.
yeah,
Yeah.
you were in some pain, and
We kept calling down there like every 15 minutes. "Can we have our baby now? Can we have our baby now? Can we have our baby now?" Of course, that was the 80s and they did
yeah,
things differently. They didn't room in and all that like they do now.
right. So
But we
they
were
they
bugging the crap. And then I kept saying, "Go down and check on her. Go down," like they were gonna, like they were gonna abduct her or
I
something.
wore a path in the tile floor going back and forth to the nursery.
"Can we have her? We're gonna bring her down in a little while." And they didn't bring her in 3 minutes. I was like, "Go check on her."
But she was also having some difficulties as
No,
far.
she didn't. She was fine. She didn't have any problems because she went through that much labor. She didn't have any issues.
Oh, okay.
Our other two did have some
Yeah.
issues.
But she was they finally brought her in, and they put her in her arms, and
Now, there's a
Wait a minute.
preface to this. There's a preface to this. The whole time I was pregnant, if I was sitting, I would be sitting in the house when he would come home from work and he'd say, "How are my girls?" Now, we did not find out that she was a girl, but he was convinced he was having all girls. He was convinced he wasn't going to have a boy. He was having all girls. And he'd say, "How are my girls?" She could have been still and not moved for hours. And she would start kicking as soon as she heard her daddy's voice. Every time. Now, that's the preface. Now you tell them.
so when they wheeled her in and put her in her arms,
No,
they put her in your arms first because you were holding her, and I was in the bathroom, I guess, and I came out of the bathroom and I said, "There's my girl," and she immediately turned and looked at me and smiled, and
she craned her neck.
she was only 4 hours old, and she cracked an eye and smiled.
She looked right at her daddy. And she was a daddy's girl. She was a daddy's girl from the womb until now. And
She's
she
still a
will
daddy's
ever
girl.
be a daddy's girl. She was just attached to him from the womb.
Yep.
And she knew his voice. And she knew his voice from the womb. I will swear to it until the day I die that she heard her daddy's voice and she would start kicking.
So with that being said, if you are expecting or if you are planning on having children, just know that everything that happens outside the womb, they will understand. They will feel.
Yes.
They feel pain. They feel anger. They feel hatred.
They feel your stress.
They feel the mama's stress. They feel
They
the
feel
mama's.
the environment stress.
They
If there's
feel.
stress
They
in the
feel.
environment.
They feel the joy. They hear music. They hear everything and feel everything that goes on. I don't
Yes.
care what people say. they know what's going on.
Yep. And which was probably a lot of what I carried through, because when my mother was expecting was a very stressful time for her and for her family and everything, and that was probably a lot of things that I experienced as well. And so they know
Yep.
prenatally, but they feel what's going on, they hear what's going on. And so you need to be aware of that, because you need to be sure that they have a good environment to start out with. Because I'm telling you, when you start out behind the 8 ball on that stuff,
It's
it
hard to get in front of it.
is hard to catch up, and it affects your immune system. I have had a poor immune system my entire life, and I have had to fight to not be sick. I've had to take many antibiotics, many steroids my entire life because my immune system.
Although all three of your pregnancies were
My pregnancies were great.
great because
I
you
was
were on
so
prenatal.
healthy and I felt great. I'm on mega doses of vitamins now, but I get sick really easily. And it's always been that way. And the only time I did not was when I was pregnant. And so, but I have always been sick. I was so sick as a child that I was on so many antibiotics it turned my teeth black. My baby teeth were literally black.
Yep.
And then my adult teeth are discolored because of the antibiotics that I was on, because I was on so many antibiotics and I was so sick. And I have always been sick like that. And it's just everything that affected me, I believe, weakened my immune system, plus my mother not getting good prenatal care.
Right.
So be sure that you take good care of yourself and be sure of what's going on in your environment does affect that child. So try to keep whatever is going on, try to keep it at a good level, because you need to protect that child. That child becomes your number one responsibility. You need to be sure that baby has the best shot at life that it can get ahead of time. And so we went home about what, 4 or 5 days later.
Yeah, well, the first day I was sitting there in the hospital holding her, I was deep in thought, sitting there staring at this child, thinking, okay,
What have I
what have I done? And I now have an extra mouth to feed, an extra body to clothe, and somebody else to protect and keep safe. And
Yep.
I thought I wanted kids from the day we got married, but now that I have a child, I thought, oh boy, I'm scared
To death.
to death, and this is going to be interesting. This is going to be a whole lot different, and it was a whole lot different.
And I remember my grandmother came to the hospital. Her and my best friend Beverly came, and my grandmother was so happy.
Yeah.
She just held that baby and she said, "This takes me back 22 years. This
Yep.
takes me back to holding you 22 years ago, rocking you 22 years ago." And she was just so happy. Her first great grandchild. And they had she and I had such a bond because she was more like a mother to me than a grandmother. She essentially raised me until I was almost 6
Yeah, she had
as my mother. And she just thought Megan was the sun and the moon. Megan could do no wrong. She just adored Megan and everything about Megan.
well,
And
wasn't she the one that said that I wasn't even around when she was conceived
no, that was my mother.
because she looked just like you?
My mother said Elizabeth spit that baby out of her mouth. You weren't even home.
Yeah,
Because she
but
looked so much like me.
yeah,
And
but
she
her
did.
her and her grandmother and Megan had a very special relationship.
My grandmother adored that child.
Yep.
Everything about that child, my grandmother I didn't know it until a year and a half later when we went to my grandmother's funeral. Everybody that walked in the funeral home knew Megan's name, and knew everything about Megan, because apparently it was all my grandmother talked about. And that just makes my heart so happy that they got to know each other.
Yep.
Even though Megan doesn't remember, Megan still feels a close bond to my grandmother because of that.
Well, they remember or they know who she
They know
is
who she
by your
is
stories.
because I tell them stories.
Yep.
And that's what I do. I tell people stories, because you need to tell your children stories.
Yep.
So they'll know who they are. They'll know where they come from. Don't let them forget their legacy, their genealogy. That's the best way for them to know who they are and where they come from, is for you to tell them stories about the people who came before them. So don't let those stories go without being told. Yeah, I'm tearing up. I know you're scratching your eye, but I got tears going out. But I do that every time I talk about my grandmother.
Yep.
Because
She was a special lady.
she's the most special person that, besides Sweet Tea here, she's the most special person that I've ever known.
Well, we don't
So,
want to end this episode on a sad note, but
No.
it was a happy time for us. We
and lots of changes. Time for lots
lots of
changes.
changes coming on. We
And
there were a whole lot of changes coming on after our little brown-eyed girl showed up,
oh yeah,
and a lot of stuff that we had no idea was fixing to happen in our
life.
little world, in our little bubble.
Our little bubble got crazy after that.
Yep.
Not that it wasn't crazy before,
No,
but it got
but
really crazy after that.
bringing a child in can make anything and everything crazy. But if you're not ready for it, it will knock your socks off. And
We were ready. We went to all the classes. We
Yep.
did all the classes. We did everything. We read all the books. We were ready.
Yep. Or so we thought.
So we thought. Everybody thinks they're ready.
So
And then you get there and it's, whoa,
And
we
slaps
weren't
you.
ready.
and it slaps you in the face, so to speak.
Yep.
And
But you do it.
there's ways you can get through it, and marriage coaching is a way to do that. And we would love, if you're having issues and life has slapped you in the face.
Even if you've got a good marriage,
Yep.
go from good to great. We went through marriage reboot, and we have a great marriage, and we
Yep.
just went to greater because we gained so much from
So much
that.
knowledge from.
So much.
We thought
going through it.
we knew we had a good marriage and we had a stable marriage, but going through a reboot with a marriage coach is a way to drive your marriage or to make your marriage even greater.
And to go back to where you started,
Right.
and remember
refocus on.
remember where you started and
Yep.
why you got together, and put together a marriage purpose and your mission, and figure out what your marriage purpose is.
Right.
Your purpose together. That was really eye-opening for me. Pretty amazing.
Yep. So after you leave us comments
Yes.
and reach out to us.
Look us up
You
on
can-
social media.
Yep. You can find us on Facebook. You can find our webpage, the ClammondGroup.com, and ElizabethClammond.com. Be the easiest way to find her, or you can find me as Arnold Clammond on Facebook.
And you can find me on any of the social medias at Elizabeth Clammond.
Yep.
Because I just put everything under my name. Easy to remember. And it's CLAMON, Clam On.
Just like on the sign behind us.
Just like our sweet daughter-in-law did on our sign behind us.
So until next time, folks, love y'all. May God bless you.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Are you feeling broken or lost? Are you struggling to find a community of like-minded women? Come join us on Soulwin, Shining Our Light Women's Inspiration Network. Soulwin women have come out victoriously from their dark places and now use their God-given gifts to shine their light to the whole world. Get your free 30-day trial today. Go to www.soulwin.tv to subscribe now.